Well, the President's Choice Award is usually given to someone who did not excel on the court or in the arena or the stadium. It's awarded to someone who has made remarkable contributions to sports, but not as a competitor. That description certainly describes Fred Huff. If you've had anything to do with sports in Southern Illinois over the last, say, 60, 65 years, chances are you know Fred Huff. He was a high school athlete in DuQuoin, and as he put it, not all that good a one. He got his first full-time job at age 18 for $30 a week in a local newspaper, writing about local sports and helping publish the paper. Later, he also became a high school football and basketball referee. And if you think he blew a call, he says you're probably wrong, but he says he's sorry anyway. In 1960, Fred became the sports information director at Southern Illinois University, and that's when I was working on the Egyptian. Because I probably gave him some trouble. Things were good, really, in sports at SIU at the time. In the summer, Fred also worked at the DuQuoin State Fair. That's when the Hamiltonian was there. It's been called, as you probably know, the Kentucky Derby of harness racing. It was a big deal. In 1971, Fred was hired full-time as the fair manager and booked acts like Bob Hope and Red Skelton and Liberace and Sonny and Cher. When the fair was sold and the Hamiltonian moved away, Fred found himself back at SIU as assistant athletic director to Gail Sayers. Sayers left, but Fred stayed for another 20 years. He figures he's been to about 400 Saluki football games, more than 1,000 Saluki basketball games in some official capacity. He retired in 2001, but not completely. Recently, he completed a huge book on the history of Saluki sports and has donated the proceeds to SIU for an endowment for students working in the Sports Information Office. Now he's working on the history of the DuQuoin State Fair. Fred Huff is in 5 Halls of Fame, make it 6 now. It's a joy to welcome my friend into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Fred Huff. Fred, welcome. Congratulations.
Lights are bright.
Lights are bright, Fred.
Yeah. I like Coach Aaron. He's accustomed to them.
Fred, when you're in the showbiz, the lights are bright.
Yeah, I guess. I have to check in with Bob Hope on that.
Now, you used to have to build those people, didn't you? When you book them, I should say, and maybe you build them too. I don't know. When you were at DuQuoin State Fair.
Yeah, the best, the most enjoyable hire I ever made was Red Skelton. And somehow or other, I happened to look through my notebooks, and there's a phone number there, Red Skelton phone number. I thought, what the hell? So I called the number, and hello? I said, Mr. Skelton, is this you? I said, yes. I said, well, I'm Fred Huff, DuQuoin State Fair. So we'd like to have you come back and play again. I said, oh, I know DuQuoin State Fair. That's a lovely place. Well, I had permission from my boss, Bill Hayes, to go as high as 40,000, offer Red 40 if he'd come back. And so we finally got around to, well, what's your asking price today? He had played there 5 or 6 years earlier. He said, oh, I don't know. How much you got? And of course, I'm always trying to make points with people like Rich Heron, who's a very tough person to work for. I don't care what he might say. But so I got 40,000 to play with. I said, Red, how's 20,000 sound to you? Oh, sounds okay with me. What time do you want me to be there? Red came 4 or 5 days, nights before he performed at DuQuoin. And it was one of the toughest 4 or 5 days because they had to find a babysitter for him. So, a babysitter, male babysitter. Doc Holliday, my friend, that's all he did. Take care of Red Skelton. But, you know, Ron, you haven't asked, but my many years at SIU, the thing that I'll never forget, and I keep in mind all the time, is the number of student workers that I had working there for me that are now head SIDs at D1 schools throughout the country. I'm sure all of you have heard of Ohio State. Ohio State's football SID, student worker SIU. Ohio State's basketball, head basketball SID, student worker at SIU. And those are the memories that I remember most.
Yeah, that's always rewarding, isn't it, Fred? When you see a young kid come through and be very successful. Those were, I wouldn't call them the halcyon days of sports at SIU, but those were pretty good days. Those were days when the basketball team was really, really good. Football team was okay, I guess, right?
Well, the SIU's program took off when Don Boyston was hired as athletic director in 1958. Don was already the director of health education on campus, but Dwight Morris, and I've heard Don tell the story more than once, and Dwight Morris, the president, came to him and asked him to take the AD's job, and Don said he turned it down twice. Morris called him back the third time. He said, he didn't ask me if I'd be interested in taking it then. He said, Boyston, you're the athletic director. And that's when SIU's program took off. That was in 1957, 58. And started after 2 or 3 years of building a staff, developing a staff, SIU won 17 of 20 conference championships in the conference that they were playing in at that time. They, all 3 years, they won 9 of the 10 sports. I'm speaking of the men's program, of course, but the Boyston was a genius when it came to hiring outstanding coaches. He did not, I can't give him credit for hiring Rich Herron, but everybody knows Rich Herron.
The wrestling team was very good. Gymnastics was very good in those days.
Yeah, the gymnastics pretty good. They won 4 national championships in over a 7-year period of time. Wrestling was not quite at that caliber, but baseball, we had a crazy baseball coach by the name of Joe Lutz who didn't believe in being conventional type. We had very pretty bat girls, bat boys, but these were bat girls, and appropriately attired. The players wore shorts. Their baseball uniforms wore shorts, came down close to their knees. The baseball helmets were white with large polka dots on them. And you can imagine how...
Did he drink? Did he drink?
No. I did. But you can imagine how easy it was to interest the news, the sports writers and everything in the college world, covering the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska when we went there. Everybody wants to talk, they want to see the girls, bat boys. They want to see these crazy players sliding into second base with shorts on and the helmets. And they wore the helmets in the field as well as at bat. It's being the PR guy at Southern Illinois University was the easiest job in the world. Anybody could have done it because we had such great teams, we had such great coaches, we had such great leaders, and we had some pretty fine athletes too.
Finally, you've written a huge book on SIU sports. It's about it's about a telephone book size thing. How long did that take?
Oh, I got that done in 5 years.
Oh.
Not long. That Decoy State Fair history book now it's been driving me crazy for about the last 3 or 4 months, but it's going to be delivered tomorrow.
Is it really?
Yes, tomorrow.
Where will that be sold?
I don't know what I'm doing it for the state of Illinois.
Oh.
And
the state of Illinois has no money, Fred, so so don't plan on getting paid.
You know, believe it or not, and I know you won't, but believe it or not, I've already been paid.
Oh, yeah. Did the check bounce?
No, sir, but it had a chance to the very next day.
Fred, it's always great to see you. Congratulations on just a phenomenal career. I said you were there at the SID when I was still there at the Egyptian. I don't know if I ever drove you nuts or not because I was doing sports in those days, but you probably have very fond memories of me, don't you?
No, you were easy. Hey, there's a guy here that I dealt with, Evansville, Sunday Courier and Press, one of the finest sports writers I've ever known in my life. He walked up to when I was standing back there earlier this evening, and I haven't seen him, I'm not kidding, in maybe 15, 20, 25 years. He is a great Pete Swanson, and I know Pete is here someplace, but I'm not.
Pete, if you're here, wave to the crowd.
He is a great.
All right, thank you. Congratulations, buddy.